Total Recall, Paul Verhoeven's complex, intergalactic chase movie, was a visual and technical masterpiece that exploded onto cinema screens in 1990. It featured some of the greatest sets, practical stunts, makeup, puppetry, and special effects ever seen on the big screen. It was a unique piece of cinema, taking advantage of cutting-edge technology to deliver on-screen firsts, whilst showcasing some of the last, truly great handcrafted sets and special effects seen before the digital takeover. How did Verhoeven bring together the old and new to create life on Mars? This is the sets and special effects of Total Recall. Way before production started, production designer William Sandell took a trip to Houston to walk on the NASA Space Lab and contacted colleges across America to gain insight into what life on the big red rock would look like. The inspiration for placing the Mars colony within the planet's canyons actually came from NASA's own projections of what a colonized Mars would look like, with the canyons providing protection from space radiation. When it came to film locations, the team settled on Mexico City. The new brutalist architecture found there was the perfect backdrop for Verhoeven's vision of a materialistic future where even your wildest dreams could be paid for and lived out inside your mind. The metro scenes were actually shot in a military complex just outside of the city, with the sharp angles and exposed concrete inspiring the aesthetic for the rest of the film and the interior set design.
Mars. Yeah, Mars.
When it came to exterior and geography shots, the spectacular, industrial, blood-red vistas of a colonized Mars were created by Mark Stetson and his team at Stetson Visuals. Huge miniatures were built in warehouses and trucked over to DreamQuest, the primary visual effects vendor, to be assembled and dressed, ready for miniature photography. Most of the miniatures were shot with really long exposure times to capture the right depth of field, which meant a 5-second scene would take hours to shoot. With the miniature shoots taking place at the same time as the main production over in Mexico, Verhoeven was nervous about what was going on back at DreamQuest. Eric Brevik, the visual effects supervisor, was quoted saying that the director didn't anticipate the degree of precision and complexity the team were going to put into the work, and when he saw the test shots, he was delighted. In these amazing geography shots, tiny projectors were used to place the actors in the heart of the action. There was a projector inside the train, projecting the image of Quaid, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, onto a tiny screen that made up the window. The number on the side of the train, 43, is an in-joke by the miniature team. It was the number of the scene the train belonged to, DQ-43. Another projector was used in this shot of the survivors looking out at a new Mars. A tiny curved screen was placed inside the miniature, with the shot of the actors taking their first breaths of fresh Martian air projected onto it. What do you do with giant miniatures when they've had their time to shine? Here's Mark Stetson.
The end of it, when all the last sets were broken up, we had a bit of a party, and there was a forklift involved that we'd haul the things out, raise them up as high as the forklift would go, and smash them on the ground, clouds of red dust.
The stunning puppetry and makeup effects were the brainchild of Rob Bottin. Bottin and his team were responsible for some of the biggest wow moments in the film. While some of the gags look a little dated, these really were some of the last beautifully grotesque examples of handcrafted props before digital took over in the mid-90s. The production team loved Bottin's work because it required little to no post-production. He would work with what he had until the effect was perfect in camera. The design for Johnny Cab was homage to Philip K. Dick's work. His short story, We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, was the inspiration for the film, and he used robot-driven cars in a number of his stories.
Would you please repeat that? We hope you enjoyed the ride.
The terrifying leader of the mutants, Kuato, was brought to life by 15 puppeteers, with each element, hands, eyeballs, eyelids, controlled by individual puppeteers. For some, the monstrous creation was a little too real. Co-screenwriter Rob Shusett was asked on numerous occasions if Kuato was in fact a real Siamese twin.
Open your mind.
As we've seen, Total Recall featured some of the last examples of tactile, physical props, but it also featured some film firsts. The famous X-ray scene was one of the earliest examples of photorealistic, computer-generated graphics seen on screen, and still holds up today. It was one of the first films to take advantage of a recent tech breakthrough, motion capture, which started life in the golf world, where the technology was used to analyze swing techniques. When you're using cutting-edge technology, however, there's always room for disaster. The whole sequence was nearly canned after the motion capture software used to map Arnie's movements failed completely. Luckily for Tim McGovern and the team, Arnie ignored his wardrobe instruction and turned up to the shoot in all white. Here's Tim McGovern.
So we realized we were going to have to rotoscope from footage that was not really prepared for that kind of work. So it turned out that it was a completely wonderful thing that Arnold was wearing white, because then we could make out his whole form, all of his limbs, and be able to rotoscope and match the motion of the computer skeleton to his real motion. Had he worn black like we had requested, it would have been much harder, if not impossible. So thank God Arnold's wardrobe person didn't do our request and that he wouldn't change.
Luckily, Breivik had shot footage of all the actors walking through the scanner, which the team could then use to map the CG motion to, saving one of the most important scenes in the film, and at the time, cinema history.
Get him! He's got a gun! Cut him off that way! Over there!
The film went on to win a Special Achievement Academy Award for its groundbreaking special effects and wowed audiences across the world with its believable portrayal of life on Mars. What did you think of the sets and special effects in Total Recall? Do you think they stand up to today's visual effects? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more exclusive Studio Canal content.